So it's very difficult to say what the micropollutants are, but we will have a look on it. And then we will look on the risks of micropollutants in the environment. There are many things we have observed. I'll give only a very brief example. And then the question, which is the result from it, why micropollutants have to be eliminated, and which technologies we have now at the moment to remove these micropollutants. So, micropollutants, in the understanding at the moment, are mainly organic substances, anthropogenic origin, which have a harmful characteristic or have a potential of harmful characteristic. That's one aspect. And the other aspect is the word micro. The part is substances which can be found in very, very small concentrations in the wastewater. That means we talk about the range of nanograms per liter up to microgram per liters. And in general, we can say substances which have negative characteristics in comparison to essential other substances. So it's a very weak definition at the moment. But which substances are covered by this? These are all substances which are from pharmaceuticals, which are X-ray contrast medias, which are such called endocrine disruptors. What is an endocrine disruptor? You ever heard this word? No. These are substances which act like hormones, yeah, which are similar to hormones, and we disturb the hormone processes in the living bodies. Sweeteners, synthetic sweeteners are belonging to this. Aromatic substances, pesticide, corrosion inhibitors, flame retardants, corrosion, perfluoric compounds which are used in the metal industry, plasticizers and microplastic as well. But microplastic I will keep a little bit outside of the range. And what are these groups? We have a lot of substances we are now discovering and looking, and with the better possibilities of analysis we find also new substances. This is a big problem. But at the moment, we are focusing on different substances. Here, these are pharmaceuticals or pharmaceutical residues, or metabolites from pharmaceutical residues. These are, for example, painkillers, anti-epileptics, beta blockers to reduce the blood pressure, antilipemics, and antibiotics, for example, because these substances are given by the doctors to the human bodies. They pass through the human body without any modification. And then we have this in the wastewater. We will have a look on it. But also other substances like estrogens, from contraceptives. We have X-ray contrast medium, so when you are in a hospital and they make an X-ray investigation, you have to take these contrast mediums, and it needs approximately 25 to 48 hours until the body has discharged all these substances. We have the pesticides, we have the corrosion inhibitors, flame retardants, for example, acesulfam as a synthetic sweetener, which is very familiar in the wastewater, and these other substances as well. And these are, of course, these are not all substances. For all substances, I need much more pages, but these are the main substances we can find at the moment in the wastewater we see afterwards. And what are the impacts of these micropollutants and why we are talking about this? They are mainly very often not biodegradable or very slowly biodegradable. They are often very, very persistent in the environment. For example, investigations found carbamazepine, which is an anti-epilepticum, in the groundwater. So it went into the water cycle and remains there because it cannot be biodegraded by the bacteria. And for the substances, this is also a big risk. We really don't know all the metabolites at the moment. Yeah? We don't know the pathway of degradation. And many of these micropollutants have an impact on not only on human bodies but also on animals. They work as endocrine disruptors. We see an example. And they have also affects our drinking water treatment. Because when we take water from groundwater or water bodies where we find micropollutants, we have them in the drinking water, in the tap water. Therefore, we have the necessity to remove this. And we had a very strong discussion how to go this way, to say, okay, the disruptors or the micropollutants are still there and we cannot do anything and we have to remove them by the drinking water treatment, or do we have to remove these substances at the source from the wastewater? And at the moment the direction is going much more to say, okay, we have to do both ways and we have to do also awareness campaigns for the users as well. And we have a lot of effects on which has been observed. Of course, inhibition of growth. We can observe infertility in the nature environment. We can see a behavior change. We can see weakening of immune systems. We can see mutations, and we can observe sometimes also death. An example is, for example, an investigation which is a few years old. That was the investigation on the coast of the United Kingdom in the southern part of England, and they looked for a special snail here, and they discovered the phenomenon of imposex. That means that they have only male snails, yeah, and the female snail disappeared completely. And with one sex, it's difficult to produce new snails, yeah. And they discovered this mainly where the big harbors are. Yeah? So that was one of the reasons, and the background for this was one substance which is also micropollutant, which is an anorganic substance. It's an organic substance, is a tributylsin, which is used as a coating for boats. Yeah? And it was put into the environment and hindered the growth of the snails, and therefore now the substance is forbidden, but it's in the environment, it's still there. We have also another problem. This is vice versa. This is intersex. That means we have only the formation of males into females, or only females are produced by the reproduction. So this was investigated after a discharge of wastewater in a normal water body, and you can see this has been increased as well. Yeah, so also an impact on this. And when we look on the situation, which substances can be found in open water bodies? Yeah, here an investigation from the United Kingdom, and you can see all these substances in the very low concentrations, but also on very high concentrations for a few substances, depending on the substances. Or here an example from a river monitoring system, and they ever find in the rivers, this is an example from a river in Germany, in a densely populated area in the western part of Germany. You can find these substances also in every of the samples of the water body. And when we look for what is the source and where it's coming from, we have to look. We put the medicine or pharmaceutical substances into the human body, and at the beginning it was only said, okay, you can find them only in the urine, but that's not right. You find them also in the feces. So the human body is discharging the substances on two pathways. One is the urine, one is the feces, but the substances are in a different behavior. Yeah, it depends on the substances, it depends on the solubility towards water and other effects as well. And when we look for the urine, here different samples which have been investigated, the concentrations in the urine, for example, you can find painkillers like ibuprofen or diclofenac, for example, typical pain-killing substances, is in very, very high concentrations. So you can identify this in the urine, and when we also take into consideration that the population is getting older, the medical supply is much better than years ago, we expect also an increase of these substances in the environment. And this is a very new investigation from 2018, 2017, there's a wrong number here, 2017. They said, okay, let's look on the concentration of substances we can find in the effluent of wastewater treatment plants. And they investigated nearly 50 effluents, 50 wastewater treatment plants, and in each of the wastewater treatment plants they find these substances. That means all these substances can be found and are found in the wastewater, but in different concentrations. Yeah, starting from a few microgram down to a few hundred micrograms down to a few micrograms, and here for the estrogens very, very low concentration. So this is really a challenge for the wastewater treatment plant. And in Germany, as an example, we are now, not only in Germany, also in Switzerland and the Netherlands as well, we are now discussing how to remove these micropollutants from the wastewater, and we have different possibilities. We have membrane systems which are not so much in use at the moment. There are a few applications, but not so much. But most of the wastewater treatment plants now go on three different directions, which is one, the oxidation by ozonization, or destroying of the substances by ozonization, or the use of activated carbon in different applications. And therefore I will give a few examples. For example, ozonization. Ozonization is mainly done in the effluent of wastewater treatment, of the treated wastewater, and we have special reactors then. We have also ozone generator. Here you can see the oxygen supply for the ozone generator, and then the water is treated with ozone. And mainly we have a post-treatment that can be a filtration unit where these substances which are destroyed can be partly degraded. And of course we need special applications for these facilities. And the ozone doses is at the moment sometimes around 1 gram per gram dissolved organic carbon. The retention time or the reaction time is 10 to 15 minutes, and the energy demand is quite high, 9 to 10 kilowatt hours per kilogram ozone. And there are a few disadvantages there. The micropollutants are not removed. They are partly degraded, or they're partly oxidized and converted to biodegradable substances. But there are a few processes in parallel. That means you need the full nitrification process, otherwise nitrate could be oxidized to nitrate and you lose ozone. And you have a process, is influenced by the suspended solids. You can have, if you have bromate in the wastewater, or bromide, it can be formed to bromate. This is a parallel process, and you don't achieve a disinfection, because for disinfection you need higher higher ozone concentration. So it's mainly for the oxidation of the micropollutants. But there are only a few applications in Germany at the moment, but this works quite well. You can see here the concentration of different substances, here the concentration of the inflow, the concentration of the outflow of the wastewater treatment plant. You can see here the degradation by the activated sludge system is only partial. Yeah, you can see this here. The degradation, depending on the substance, is sometimes between 20 to 70%, but not complete. So this treatment is ever post-treatment. And when you go here to the ozonization is quite effective. and you can remove not all the substances, but most of the substances. You have a very, very good elimination. Other possibilities are the application of activated carbon. One possibility is to do it as granular activated carbon. That means you implement or you install the activated carbon into filter units instead of sand or anthracite or other substances you have in the filtration, and use this filtration unit also for the adsorption of the micropollutants. And of course, after a few years it's loaded and you have to remove this. And the other application, so the solid concentration have to be very low, and the contact time is also something about 15 to 30 minutes. And experience at the moment is, from the first applications, we have a use of the activated carbon for approximately 15,000 bed volume. You can reactivate the carbon, but it's very expensive, and you have to replace this partly by fresh material. Other application, and which is now the most used, which is the most applications we have at the moment, is the dosing of powered activated carbon. That means you dose it to the wastewater process, for example here, into the activated sludge system, and then it's transported via the return sludge into the tank again, so you have a very much longer retention time, and then the excess carbon is integrated in the sludge then here, and it's removed as excess sludge from the system. Or another possibility is you make this before the water passes the filtration unit. This is another possibility as well. And you can also use these here together with other substances. You can have here an example for the dosing of the powdered activated carbon into the wastewater treatment plant. Dosing rates are 5 to 20 milligram activated carbon, and at the moment we have, with these powdered activated, we have experienced the elimination rate of these micropollutants is very high, more than 80%. Therefore, it seems to be that this is a mostly used technology, and of course, this application will cause initial costs. And the investigations, we know at the moment that we expect an increase of the cost for the wastewater treatment plant by 10 to 15% by removing of these micropollutants. That means new requirements will come in the future, will cause additional treatment costs, will cause additional treatment facilities. Fine. So this is an overview or perspective what will happen, what is happening at the moment, and what will happen in the future. And also for this lecture, I would like to pose three questions. Why the elimination of micropollutants is necessary? What are possible treatment? What are treatment possibilities? Pardon? Oxidation, yeah.
Powdered activated carbon.
Let's say in general activated carbon. Yeah, in which form, however, powdered or granular. Yeah. What are disadvantages or obstacles which are linked with this technology, or which can be linked with this technology? We can have byproducts. Yeah, like the bromate, or like nitrite, which can be oxidized. Yeah.
And we need more money.
Yeah, of course, it's costly. Yeah, that's one of the main issues. Yeah. Okay. So, thank you very much.
What do you think about fates of emerging contaminants in treatment processes? Can there be some byproducts within the processes which we don't know yet?
Of course, this can happen. And we have another issue. When we use activated carbon, we have to remove the micropollutants from the water, but it's still there. It's trapped on the activated carbon. Therefore, I have to put I have to pose the question what I will do with the sludge. Yeah, that means application of the sludge in agriculture can be much more difficult. Yeah, that's the reason why the tendency also in Germany is going in parallel what happens to Switzerland and in the Netherlands, that for the big wastewater treatment plants we are forced to incinerate the sludge in future. Yeah, and that is of course this is against the idea of closing the loop. Yeah, that's a huge problem. Yeah, this is one effect. The other effect is we are not really have enough knowledge what's happening with metabolites. Yeah, because for many of the substance, the degradation process is not really very clear. Yeah, sometimes for a few substances we are analyzing metabolites, but only these metabolites we know. Yeah, that's a problem. We don't have enough knowledge, or we have a clue what happens. We also discover in the groundwater resources a few of the substances, not all of them, but these substances which are very difficult to be degraded can be discovered, like diclofenac, carbamazepine is one of the substances we found very often in the groundwater. Others not. Estrogens, there can be degraded. It's only a question of time. Yeah, but we accumulate them, and we accumulate them not only in the groundwater. We accumulate them also in the water bodies and in the oceans, for example. Yeah, and when we have the same discussion with the substances which I have not only mentioned very shortly, it's the microplastics. Yeah, the microplastics we discharge also into the wastewater, into the water bodies by different ways, pathways. Yeah. Thank you very much.